On the day of his wedding, Jonathan exposed his fiancée's shocking betrayal, not just with anyone, but with his father. In front of 150 guests, he turned a perfect ceremony into a devastating reveal that would destroy two families and rebuild one man's life from the ashes. My name is Jonathan Clark, and until recently, I believed my life was the perfect blend of everything I had worked for: career success, family pride, and love. At 32 years old, I had crafted an existence that many envied: a high-paying role as a senior project manager at a Chicago tech firm, a sleek condo in Lincoln Park, and a fiancée who felt like the missing piece in my otherwise complete puzzle. Life, in its outward glow, was smooth. But real betrayal never comes with warning signs. It arrives quietly, like a crack in your windshield that spreads until everything shatters. I was raised to believe that integrity defines a man. My father, Robert Clark, taught me that. A 60-year-old real estate broker with a handshake as solid as a signed contract, he had spent decades building his reputation in Chicago's toughest markets. My mother Mary stood by his side for 35 years, a model of quiet strength. Their bond was one I idolized. Robert never missed a game, a ceremony, or a moment that mattered. He was the type of father you read about in parenting books: engaged, supportive, and present. So when I met Megan Davis, the woman I was certain I would marry, it felt only right that my parents loved her as I did. Megan was smart, poised, and beautiful in that effortless way some women are. At 30, she worked as a marketing coordinator for a boutique firm in River North. We met during a 4th of July barbecue in 2022, introduced by a mutual friend who claimed we had the same energy. That summer was intoxicating: long weekend drives to Wisconsin, Netflix marathons, endless debates over deep dish pizza. By October, I knew she was the one. By the next spring, I had proposed at Navy Pier during a private fireworks cruise. She said yes, with tears streaming down her cheeks. Everything moved fast from there. Megan became a fixture in my family. Sunday dinners, holiday weekends, spontaneous brunches at my parents' house. She slipped into our lives like she had always belonged. My mom called her our second daughter. My dad praised her poise and business savvy. Looking back, I see the signs now. But hindsight is a cruel teacher. The wedding was set for October. St. Michael's Church in Old Town for the ceremony, with a classic Chicago reception at the History Museum. We'd invited 150 guests, all carefully selected. Megan had obsessed over details: the flower arrangements, the vintage bourbon bar, the jazz trio. I handled logistics, something I excelled at, thanks to years of software timelines and system launches. The night before the wedding, tradition kept us apart. Megan stayed at the bridesmaid's suite, prepping with her sister and close friends. I checked into the Palmer House Hotel with my father. It felt like a symbolic passing of the torch, father helping son step into his legacy. We ordered room service. New York strip steak and lobster. McCann sat at the table, going over the final seating chart. Dad was relaxed, confident, sipping a scotch while recounting stories of his wedding day with Mom. "You nervous?" he asked, nudging the bourbon bottle toward me. "More like excited," I replied. "Honestly, this feels right." He smiled, proud. "She's a good one, Jonathan. You did well." At that moment, I believed him. It was nearly 10:30 when he excused himself to the bathroom. His iPhone remained on the table, screen face up. I wasn't looking for anything. I swear that on every good thing left in my life. But when a notification lit up, instinct drew my eyes. The sender: Megan Davis. "Thank you for the unforgettable night, Robert. The way your lips explored every part of me won't leave my mind. I can't wait for the next time. You're incredible. P.S. Our story will be our secret." Attached was a photo. Not a generic selfie. No, this was intimate, raw, unmistakably, taken inside a hotel room. The timestamp read 11:47 p.m. The previous night, while I was celebrating at Wrigley Field with my GROOMSMEN. The floor beneath me vanished. I couldn't feel my fingers. My chest tightened, as if someone had wrapped barbed wire around my ribs and pulled. I stared at that screen, waiting, hoping it would vanish. That it was some prank, a sick joke. But it didn't disappear. It stayed. Her smile in the photo was the same one she wore when she said yes to marrying me. When Dad returned, drying his hands, I had already used my phone to take multiple shots of the screen. Years in development had taught me one thing: back up everything. "You good son?" he asked, settling into his seat again, eyes full of warmth. "I'm just tired," I muttered. "Big day tomorrow." He nodded. completely unaware of the title. Wave coming. Get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be the best day of your life. The irony clawed at my insides. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling of my hotel suite, heartbeat in my ears, running through every moment of the last year, Megan's sudden late work nights, Dad's spontaneous real estate trips to Milwaukee, the offhand compliments, the shared laughter at family dinners, and their subtle glances across the room. The signs were there. My blind trust had simply erased them. By 1 a.m., rage had come and gone. In its place, resolve not to scream, not to expose them in a fit of fury. I wasn't going to lose control. I was going to build something. A plan, a stage, a reckoning. I sat at the small desk near the hotel window and got to work. By 2 a.m., the city was asleep. But my mind was ablaze with something I had never felt so sharply. Clarity sharpened by betrayal. Rage had cooled into calculation. Tears had dried into resolve. The heartbreak was real, but the humiliation, that was intolerable. Megan and my father hadn't just hurt me, they had orchestrated their deceit behind smiles and toasts, and I was supposed to stand before 150 people, exchange vows, and kiss a woman who had been with my father less than 2 nights before. No, not on my watch. Instead of falling apart, I did what I'd always done best, created a project plan, but this time, not for a system rollout or corporate restructuring. This was for a personal reckoning, one that would unfold with the precision of a product launch and leave no room for misinterpretation. I started by transferring the photos and text messages from my phone to a secure cloud storage I controlled. My development background meant I could do this in minutes. Then, I created a private web page, hosted on one of my company's servers, under a benign subdomain. It looked clean, just a white background, 2 images, the text thread, and a timestamped footer. Next, I generated a custom QR code linked to the page. If anyone scanned it, they'd be taken to that evidence. There would be no ambiguity, no denial, just the truth staring back at them in digital ink. By 3:30 a.m., I was in the Palmer House Business Center, formatting and printing 200 small white cards with the QR code on one side and the message, scanned for a special surprise from the bride and groom. I chose a professional serif font, something elegant, classy, exactly the kind of thing guests would expect from a couple like us. It would feel like part of the wedding favor or a digital guest book. I could already imagine it. One curious guest scans it. Their eyes widen. They whisper to their neighbor. Soon, whispers turn into waves. And all this would happen before Megan and I even exchanged vows. But I wasn't finished. I needed someone I could trust completely and legally. I picked up my phone and called Rebecca Stone, my real estate and corporate attorney. It was nearly 2 a.m., but Rebecca answered on the 3rd ring. "Jonathan," she said, her voice alert. "I'm sorry it's late," I said calmly. "But something happened, and I need you." I explained everything from the message to the photo, the timing, the people involved, and the wedding. Silence lingered on her end, before she finally replied. "First, Jonathan, I'm so sorry, you don't deserve this. But I'm proud of how you're handling it." Her voice shifted to professional mode. "Don't sign anything tomorrow. Marriage license, guest book, nothing. As for what you're planning, it's legal. The content belongs to you. You're exposing a personal truth. Just be cautious, document everything. Timestamp it. If things escalate, you'll need proof that your actions were premeditated and lawful." "I've already timestamped and backed everything up," I said. "Then I'll be there," she added. "Not visibly, just present. In case you need legal representation." By the time dawn painted the sky a cold steel blue, I had finished packing my tuxedo and confirmed my role in the day's events, not as the groom, but as the executioner of deceit. The morning was filled with surreal calm. I showered, shaved, and dressed with mechanical focus. My tuxedo, a bespoke black Tom Ford, fit perfectly, as if tailored for this exact moment. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't see a man destroyed by betrayal. I saw a man reborn by the truth. At the church, everything sparkled with perfection. White roses lined the pews, soft jazz played on cello and piano, and the late October air smelled of fallen leaves and impending cold. Guests began arriving around noon, smiling, hugging, and shaking hands. My mother was radiant in navy blue, greeting relatives and clutching tissues for happy tears. Unaware that her world was about to collapse, my father arrived shortly after, confident, polished, shaking hands, clapping backs. His betrayal had aged him, but his act held firm. I watched from a distance as he hugged old friends and offered the same proud smile he'd given me my entire life. The mask was flawless. But masks don't survive fire. Megan entered next. A vision in white. Her $8,000 dress glistened under the soft light as she stepped from the car, surrounded by bridesmaids. She waved to me across the crowd and mouthed, "I love you." I smiled back, and I meant it, just not for her. Inside the church, guests took their seats as my college roommate and best man, Mike, straightened my cuffs. "You nervous, bro?" "Not even a little," I said. "This is going to be unforgettable." I had given a stack of QR cards to Janet, our trusted wedding coordinator, just before the ceremony. She was a professional with years of experience and discretion. I'd told her they were digital guestbook cards, and to distribute them quietly during the priest's homily. She didn't question it. "Will do," she said, tucking them into her clipboard. At exactly 1 p.m., Father Mackenzie began the ceremony. His voice filled the church with comforting authority. As Megan walked down the aisle, gasps rippled through the congregation, not at scandal, but at her beauty. Her father walked her down with tears in his eyes. She looked angelic. Her smile was picture perfect. She took her place beside me, whispering, "I'm the luckiest woman alive." If only she knew what was coming. As Father Mackenzie spoke about love, sacrifice, and fidelity, I subtly nodded to Janet. She began moving through the pews, handing out the QR cards. One by one, guests scanned them. Most people had their phones on silent, so the discovery spread like a whisper. Curiosity turned into shock. Smiles disappeared. I watched as my cousin, Jennifer, gasped and covered her mouth. Uncle Frank turned pale. My boss at the software company showed his phone to his wife, who recoiled as if stung. The ripple effect had begun. People leaned toward one another, whispering urgently. I stole a glance at my father. He noticed something was off. People were shifting, whispering, staring at their phones. His brow furrowed. My mother looked confused, leaning toward her sister to ask something. Seconds later, her phone buzzed. She scanned the QR code with an innocent smile. The smile dropped. Her hands trembled. Her face crumbled. I saw the exact moment her soul broke. My father leaned in, whispering something to her. She recoiled from him, as if he'd struck her. Megan was still oblivious, facing forward, listening to the priest. She had no idea that the entire room was seconds away from collapse. And then the moment arrived. Father Mackenzie said the words I had been waiting for. "If any person here can show just cause why Jonathan and Megan may not be joined in holy matrimony, let them speak now, or forever hold their peace." I stepped forward, took the microphone, and looked into Megan's eyes. "I have something to say." The church fell into a sudden, breathless silence. The air was heavy with confusion, unease, and the unspoken tension of a crowd sensing that something irreversible was about to unfold. The cellos ceased their soft hum. Father Mackenzie's expression froze, the ceremonial book still open in his hands. Megan turned toward me, her face glowing with the kind of joy only a bride feels. She saw mine. My face wasn't joyful. It was cold, resolved. And when I spoke into the microphone, every word landed like a blade. "I have something to say." Megan blinked. She tilted her head slightly, confused but still smiling, the corners of her lips trembling with uncertainty. "I loved you, Megan," I said, slowly and clearly. "I loved you with everything I had, and I would have spent my entire life honoring the vows we were about to make." The crowd shifted. People murmured. Megan looked from me to the audience. Seeing the faces that had changed, friends who once adored her now looked away. Some shook their heads, others whispered behind cupped hands. "And you, Dad," I continued, locking eyes with the man I once called my hero. "You were the blueprint I modeled myself after. You taught me about loyalty, about integrity. Or so I thought." Robert stood in the front pew, his face drained of color. His eyes were wide. My mother sat beside him, shaking, silent tears flowing down her cheeks. Megan's voice cracked. "Jonathan, what's happening?" I turned the microphone slightly so everyone would hear. "What's happening, Megan, is the truth. And I'm not the one telling it. You are." I pointed to the guests, many of whom now held their phones in their hands. "I hope you've all had a chance to scan the special QR code Megan and I prepared. It gives a very intimate look into her pre-wedding festivities. She wasn't alone. She spent the night with the man who was supposed to walk her down the aisle. My father, a woman gasped. Someone in the back whispered, "Oh my God." Megan's face twisted in disbelief. "No, Jonathan, this isn't." "Don't," I said, my voice flat. "Don't insult everyone here with another lie." She took a step back, visibly trembling. Her face turned red, then white. "This is a mistake. It's not what you think." "I saw the messages," I said, holding up my phone. "I saw the photos. You thanked my father for the unforgettable night. You told him how he touched you. You told him this was our secret." The image of the message appeared on the screen behind the altar. Janet had been instructed to cue it up via the projector at this exact moment. The photo followed graphic, undeniable, time-stamped. The collective gasp from the congregation felt like a wave crashing against the walls of the church. Megan let out a choked sob and collapsed to her knees. Robert finally stood, his voice hoarse. "Jonathan, please. This isn't the place." "The place," I said, turning to him. "You were going to let me marry her. You were going to stand there and smile while I took vows to a woman you've been sleeping with. So yes, this is the place." My mother sobbed uncontrollably. She leaned into her sister for support, shaking her head as if trying to erase the truth from her mind. "I was going to give my life to her," I said, "and I looked up to you." Megan tried to crawl toward me on her knees, mascara streaking down her face. "Please, Jonathan. I was drunk. It was one time." "It wasn't," I said sharply. "The metadata on the photos says otherwise. It happened multiple times. You even booked a separate hotel during my bachelor party." Gasps and murmurs echoed through the pews. Megan collapsed again, this time into full-blown hysteria. Her sister rushed forward, trying to comfort her, but she pulled away, shrieking, "You weren't supposed to find out. It was just supposed to be once." I stared at her, this woman, whom I had once planned to build a life with, and felt nothing but emptiness, not rage, not sorrow, just the cold finality of a wall closing shut. Robert tried to step into the aisle. "Jonathan, please. I made a mistake, but you don't have to do this like this." "No, Dad, I do." I turned to the crowd again. "This wedding is over, and so are the relationships I had with these two people." Father Mackenzie stepped forward, speechless, holding his Bible like a shield. I handed him the microphone. "Thank you, Father, but I won't be needing your services today." Then I walked slowly down the aisle, past every guest. Some whispered my name. Some avoided eye contact. Some gave solemn nods of approval. I passed Robert, who reached out a trembling hand. I didn't look at him. I passed my mother, who reached for me. I stopped only for her. She looked into my eyes. "You didn't deserve this," she said. "Neither did you, Mom," I whispered. Then I kissed her cheek and continued walking. The large doors of St. Michael's opened, flooding the sanctuary with the autumn light, and I stepped into it. Free. Outside, the cold breeze cut through my tuxedo, but I barely noticed. I stood at the top of the church steps, looking out over the park across the street. The city skyline framed the sky like a portrait of a future I hadn't planned. But suddenly welcomed. Mike, my best man, ran up beside me. "Jesus Christ," he whispered. "You pulled it off." "I told you," I said. "I wasn't going to let them win." He looked back through the doors, where chaos reigned. "So, now what?" "Now," I took a deep breath. "Now, I rebuild, with honesty. And without them." The guests poured out in waves, some patting me on the back, some in stunned silence, others still scanning the QR code. My phone buzzed, with texts, some from friends, others from coworkers. Within hours, the story would be out. Screenshots would circulate. And I didn't care. I had told the truth. And I had done it on my terms. That was the only closure I needed. By the time I reached my Lincoln Park condo later that evening, the world had already shifted beneath my feet. I had exposed a betrayal in the most public, unforgettable way imaginably land. Now, I was sitting alone in a quiet living room, tuxedo, wrinkled, hands trembling, staring out the window at the lights of downtown Chicago. But the silence didn't last long. My phone exploded with notifications, texts, emails, missed calls, social media mentions. My story had already started going viral. A few guests had uploaded screenshots of the QR page to Instagram and Facebook. One even posted a video of Megan sobbing in her wedding gown, screaming at my father in front of the altar. Hashtags like #WeddingReckoning, #QRGate, and #4 father of the BRIDEZILLA, started trending locally by midnight. By morning, local Chicago news stations had picked it up. Software engineer cancels wedding mid-ceremony with viral expose of bride's affair with his own father. Some reports exaggerated, some fabricated, but the core truth remained untouched. The woman I was about to marry had betrayed me with my father, and I revealed it in front of 150 people. I didn't speak to either of them in the days that followed. Megan called over 50 times, left voicemails sobbing, apologizing, begging for a second chance. It didn't mean anything, Jonathan, she cried. It was a mistake. We were both drunk. I didn't think it would go this far, but she did let it go this far. She planned to stand beside me at the altar and say vows she never meant. My father's voicemails were more composed but somehow worse. Son, I don't expect forgiveness, but I miss you. I ruined everything. I was weak. Please, just talk to me once. I didn't. Not yet. My mother, though, was the only person I spoke to that week who mattered. She called me on Monday morning. She didn't cry. She didn't blame. Her voice was low and even. I hired a divorce attorney this morning, she said. I swallowed hard. Are you sure? Your father didn't just betray you, she said, her voice like stone. He betrayed 35 years of my life. If he can lie to you, he's been lying to me, too. I'm done. I respected her strength and mourned what this had done to all of us. Megan was fired by Thursday. Her firm's PR rep gave a statement, citing personal misconduct incompatible with our company values. My father's real estate company, once the gold standard of Chicago's North Side, collapsed almost overnight. His business partner, a man I had known since childhood, dissolved their relationship. Clients pulled out of contracts. Trust was broken. And in real estate, trust is everything. By the end of the month, my father had listed his Mercedes for sale and moved into a studio apartment in Skokie. I should have felt triumphant. I didn't. There was no joy in their release, a bitter, clean severing. A week later, I received a message from a producer at a major daytime talk show. Then another from a streaming service looking to adapt the story into a docudrama. A Netflix exec even emailed asking if I'd consider consulting for a scripted series. I declined them all. This wasn't entertainment. This was my life. Instead, I gave one interview to a journalist at the Chicago Tribune who had written about my tech company's growth in the past. We met at a cafe in River North. I wore sunglasses and kept it short. I didn't do this to go viral, I told her. I did this because the people I trusted tried to rewrite my reality, and I chose truth. The piece went live 2 days later, titled Jonathan Clark, Betrayed, Not Broken. It painted me not as a victim, but as someone who took back control in the face of a personal ambush. I couldn't walk into a bar without someone recognizing me, but I still felt alone. I took 2 weeks off work. When I returned, my team greeted me with awkward hugs, claps on the back, and quiet admiration. My boss, David, pulled me into his office. That was some David Fincher-level revenge, he said, half smirking. I didn't smile. It wasn't revenge, it was survival. He nodded. Whatever it was brave. A month later, an offer came in from an AI startup in Austin, Texas. Tripled the salary, a director-level position, and a clean break from the ghost stories haunting my condo walls. I took it. Before I left, I had one final conversation I needed to have with him. It was a Saturday morning. I didn't tell him I was coming. I knocked on the door of his Skokie apartment. When he opened it, he looked broken, thinner, older, quieter, like the mask had fallen off. And there was nothing underneath but regret. Jonathan, he said, breathless. Thank you for coming. I'm not here to rehash everything, I said. I'm leaving Chicago. I just came to say one thing. He nodded, eyes wet. I forgive you. His eyes widened. His lip trembled. Not because you deserve it, I continued, but because I refuse to carry your shame in my new life. I have better things to do than hate you. He collapsed into the doorway, sobbing. I didn't hug him. I didn't comfort him, but I left knowing I'd said what I needed to say. Austin was warm, fast, and alive. My new apartment overlooked the river. My new job challenged me daily. And for once, nobody whispered behind my back. Nobody looked at me like a walking tragedy. I was just Jonathan, the guy who ran development on their AI onboarding system. I started seeing someone. Her name was Alina, a UX designer. Smart, sarcastic, beautiful in the way only real people are. We met at a tech mixer. She didn't know my past until I told her, months later. She didn't blink. That's insane, she said, but impressive, and kinda hot. You engineered emotional justice. We laughed, and I realized I hadn't really laughed in almost a year. We took it slow. I was cautious. But Elena wasn't Megan. She didn't hide her phone. She didn't make me feel smaller to feel bigger. She didn't pretend. She just showed up every time. And maybe, just maybe, I believed again. I was back in Chicago for a conference, staying at the Palmer House. Full circle. One evening, I walked past St. Michael's. It was quiet, empty. I stood outside, looking at those grand wooden doors, remembering everything. The betrayal, the silence, the unraveling. I also remembered my voice, steady, unshaken. I turned, smiled to myself, and walked on this time, toward a future I hadn't planned, but had earned. Betrayal doesn't destroy you. Denial does. Silence does. Self-betrayal does. When people show you who they are, believe them, and when your whole world falls apart. Remember, truth is the foundation you rebuild on, even when the walls are still burning.